To this day, I still don't understand why people enjoy camping. Don't get me wrong, I like Mother Nature and hiking is one of my favorite hobbies, but there's absolutely no way you can convince me to sleep outside in a tent, unless money was involved, of course. Doesn't the creepy crawly scare you? What about wolves or bears? So, how did camping become such a phobia for me? Well, I think it all started when I was in middle school, so let me give you some context first. I was still young and my understanding of basic English was just passable. I immigrated with my family to the US after finishing second grade in China, so a lot of American culture and humor was still new to me. For example, I used to think that calling someone Jew was a slang to calling someone an asshole. I wonder where I got that from.
Jew! I told you Jewish people don't have rhythm.
Anyways, it was in the middle of summer that my parents signed me up for the Boy Scouts of America. They probably wanted me out of the house because I was spending all my free time watching shows like Dragon Ball Z and Johnny Bravo. You know, to learn English. I knew absolutely nothing about Scouts other than the fact that they look kind of like the Irish military, but sells cookies. So after a week after being sworn in, my unit said that we would be camping near a lake for an entire week. I was really pissed when I heard this because at this time I was really into this anime called Yu-Gi-Oh! And the episodes I was gonna miss was the Yuji versus Kaiba duel. Good times. Before I go further, I want you guys to understand something. People don't camp in China. There's a reason why you take off your shoes before entering someone's house. The very act of sleeping on the sidewalk is illegal. Most people at that time commuted on bicycles because, well, only the government officials and rich people drove cars. There's no way that someone was going to bike all the way from the city to the woods with camping gear on their back. So the very concept of sleeping outside for fun was completely baffling to me and my parents. Now, each scout was given a list of essentials to bring to camp, like tents, sleeping bags, flashlight, etc., etc. But my parents weren't rich. In fact, we were quite poor. So they did what most Asians do, improvise. All of my camping gears were either from garage sales or the Dollar Tree. I still remember my tent had a hole on the roof, and my dad just gave me some duct tape. My flashlight was the cheap kind, so imagine walking in the woods at night with this level of brightness. Lastly, my mom packed me blankets instead of a sleeping bag, so I was basically sleeping on rocks and sticks the entire week. Now the camp itself was right beside a giant lake and it had a couple of facilities like swimming pool, clubhouse, and cafeteria, which is why my platoon leader decided to set up camp as far away from these facilities as possible because he wanted us to be more in tune with nature. The only thing we had on base was an outdoor bathroom facility, but I'll get to that later. Also, keep in mind that our troop was like one of 10 or 15 different troops, so this whole camp was packed. My time at this place can only be summarized as this. I want to kill myself. This was in the middle of summer, and for those of you who don't know, I live in Texas. Everyone was fighting to sign up for indoor activities because we all wanted air conditioning. But because there were so many people, no one was allowed to stay in for more than 30 minutes. Yes, we had a lake and a pool, but it doesn't beat air conditioning. I actually tried to set up camp near the cafeteria, but was told that it was against the rules. Some of you might think that it gets better at night. Ha! Just because the sun goes down doesn't mean that the temperature does as well. And because we were near a lake, the air was also humid, which leads to the mosquitoes. Holy crap, the mosquitoes. I was an all-you-can-eat buffet because my mom packed me mosquito incense instead of mosquito spray. Not because she thinks the incense was more effective, but because it was cheaper than the spray. I couldn't even light them anyways because it was a fire hazard. So after about 2 days, my legs and arms had the texture of a chicken McNugget. Next was the food, which was actually good, but we only had 2 meals a day. It wasn't enough for me. All those climbing, hiking, and kayaking burns a lot of calories. My parents thought we were gonna go forage food from the wild or something, so they only packed me some crackers for snacks, probably because they were cheaper than cookies. I would get really hungry, and when everyone goes to sleep, I would go scavenge their food bank. Chef Boyardee and Oreos were my favorite. I actually had a lot of fun doing this because I was pretending to be Solid Snake. And no, I was never caught. I also never took any showers that week. Maybe the facilities had showers, but our camp was just so far away that by the time we were done with our daytime activities, it was already too dark for me to walk all the way there. Let me remind you again that this is summer, and I also had no deodorant because my parents thought they were a waste of money. However, I was able to keep myself clean by signing up for the swimming class where I used the pool as my bathtub. But the absolute worst thing that happened, and it still scars me to this day, was the bathroom facility. Now, our troop decided to set up camp right beside it because we thought it would be convenient, but it was old, unsanitized, and the toilets were backed up. So every time there was a slight breeze, we all got a good whiff of that all-natural human waste. You might ask, why didn't y'all just move camp? Well, we couldn't because every other spot was taken. Now, I'm sure that somewhere within that week of misery, I actually had fun. I just don't remember any of it. This was my first experience with camping, and it felt like Hell Week at Ranger School. So as soon as I got home, I told my parents that there's no way I'm going back to the Scouts. I think they only agreed to it because they didn't want to put up more money for Scout activities. However, this was not the camping trip that broke me. That honor belongs to the FTX training I had when I was in the Army. If you want to hear more dumb stories, please hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.